Alright, guys and gals, here we are at number 6. Only rule is to watch and share. If this inspires you to make your own list, it's awesome. But please share it. It matters, because this message could save someone. You never know. This one was really tricky and touchy for me to explain. So this person was one of the boys in one of the families in the tags before. So we basically grew up as cousins. Sort of. It was deeper than that for me and him. We were quite literally like the best friends ever. I spent a lot of time in my childhood at his family's home, and we grew up playing together and using our imaginations together. We would build whole worlds right there in our backyard. We were so young, before the world of internet and endless video games. We had each other, and we had outside. And for a long time, in both our lives, that was enough. But bad things are always going to happen, and they still did. As a kid, I had a very severe bedwetting issue. I couldn't even trust going to sleep because I would end up peeing almost every single time. Which means spending time at other people's houses meant that they noticed it too. When it was time for us kids to take our naps, people started laying plastic garbage bags over the couches where I was going to lay. I was so embarrassed, and I hated going to sleep, so I started to push myself to stay awake more and more. I have a theory that that's actually where my insomnia began. The embarrassment and the shame were eating me alive. I learned much later, as a young adult, that early age severe bedwetting like that is most often the #1 sign that a child has been sexually abused. But I don't have enough memory pieces to say that's for sure what caused it. Based on what pieces I can recall, it did. But I don't know enough to say how often, how far it went, or with who. It's too fractured to see it all clearly. My point here is that amid the embarrassment and shame I constantly felt, I quickly got highly suicidal. There were days that I would hide in my own corner of the yard or the house instead of playing with the other kids, even my best friend. I would just sit by myself and cry. I knew nothing of God back then, except that supposedly He could hear me when I prayed. So I prayed to Him a lot. I prayed for death, mostly, asking, begging Him to bring me home. When it became apparent that I wasn't going to die anytime soon, I began praying that I could be a boy. That one morning I could just wake up and not be female anymore. To have boy parts. I prayed for that for years. Of course, that never happened either. So I started to try and think of ways that I could just kill myself. That wouldn't leave too big of a mess. Like, Jesus. Even in dying, I was worried about being a problem for someone. My best friend, of course, noticed the drastic decline in my persona. And he never pushed me to come play. And he never made me talk about anything. He would just come up to me, whether we were outside or in the house. He would come sit with me in whatever corner I was trying to hide in. And he would just hold me while I cried. Oftentimes he would cry with me and we'd just end up holding each other. From there we began insisting on sleeping in the same bed during sleepovers, or at least me on the floor next to his bed once we started to get older and parents became concerned about puberty and sexuality. And we always swore that someday we were going to grow up and get married. He was my strength for many, many years. And I, in turn, tried to be his. So, Ty, episode 6 is for you. Just for being there, and alive, and with me. You were my silent sentinel. Just because you existed. And I'm even more honored that you are still here today to be in my tag. You are one of the rarest and most beautiful people I have ever had the privilege of knowing. I know your life hasn't been easy either, and I know you've struggled with the thoughts of wanting to die too. But you keep waking up every day, and whether it's good or bad, you take it head on. You are amazing, and I love you. Everything about who you are matters in this world, and the voices that tell you otherwise are lies. You saved my life, and that matters. You matter. You will always matter. Episode 6. Tyler.